Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, Bax here. This episode is awesome. We did have a couple technical issues with the camera and audio feed as we were working with our guest in getting everything into production. However, all the content is still there. It's still awesome. I hope you love it as much as we loved recording it. Enjoy the content. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the StreamSix Academy Podcast, where we talk about the ground level efforts of being a content creator, a streamer, getting into the field that has become one of the most popular media fields and avenues in existence. It is rivaling TV. It's rivaling just about anything. My name is Bax, known online as Bax. My name is Sam Hall, and we are going to be bringing you some awesome content. We got a great guest today. I'm going to bring in my co-host, Tim Seneker, known online as Camera Tim Seneker.
Hello.
No, it's not Camera Tim Seneker.
No, I have that as my name in one Discord server I'm in, actually, funny enough.
You do?
I do,
I
yes.
just knew. I knew I was, that was... yeah.
You sensed it. It's like you're in the trenches, as it were.
Ooh, in the trenches of content and streaming, and you did it, dude. It's like those moments.
I brought it in.
It's those moments in like either a TV episode or a movie where they say the title of the thing, and it's like, there it is. They did it. There's the spot. They said the title. Ha! I got it. I saw
that's
it.
Bingo. All right.
And we nailed it. If you want to be a part of this conversation, and guess what? We want you to be a part of the conversation. This is a podcast that is aimed at helping everybody, including ourselves, grow, learn, and improve inside the content creator sphere of and that is such a large umbrella. You have thoughts, you have ideas, you have questions about the topics we talk about today. You let us know. Discord is a great place to do that. Twitch is a great place to do that. We have YouTube videos. Tim, you and I have like one video on there, maybe or two.
Two. I think it's two. We made it to 2.
1.7?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 1 point. The 0.7 is a short. So we have the short.
We're going by frame rate. It's 1.97.
By frame rate? Well, I'm going to cheat then. I'm going to talk to Spoo, and I'm going to let him know, like, hey, I'm going to jack my frame rate up, and I would like more attention, please. So today's conversation, we're going to be talking a little bit about esports. We're going to bring esports into the conversation. This is something where we have been talking about community. We've been talking about platforms. We've been talking about how to just get out of your own head, get out of your own way, and engage the content that you are trying to create. We have spoken with 8-Bit Drummer last week, which was an awesome episode. If you missed that episode, treat yourself. It is an excellent episode just about what it's like to go from absolutely nothing into the spotlight of being a content creator and streamer full time. But we're going to bring esports. This is something we haven't really touched on, Tim. In a lot of these different episodes, we haven't really gotten into the esports avenue of what content creation and gaming looks like.
Yeah, because I think it's like one of the most underappreciated aspects of gaming in general, and content creation for that matter. Like I can remember I actually went to let's see, what was it? The Little Caesars Arena, which is the place where the Detroit Red Wings play. And I went there for the League of Legends summer. It was a summer split, like back in 2018, 2019 or something like that.
And you got to go?
Yeah, I got to go. I actually
awesome.
won tickets because I won a Mario Kart 64 tournament.
Oh, as you do. Oh, wow. You're really humble bragging in the intro to the episode. You're going to humble brag your Mario Kart 64 skills. Oh, wow.
That's how I got there. So,
bro,
yes.
This episode, we're playing Mario Kart 64 right now. Where's the emulator? Let's go.
I'll take you on. We just have to determine like shortcuts or non-shortcuts.
You destroyed me. I don't know. I'll play Donkey Kong and I'll win. I don't have any other. Okay.
That's fair. So anyways,
no other information.
All that to say, like, so I went to the event. It was my first experience at an esports event. Like, I've been to a bunch of sporting events before, but it was a very distinct experience where I think I've never heard an arena that loud before. So it's one of those things where a lot of people on the outside looking in don't really understand like what all the hype is about or why it's so necessary for this culture in this day and age, but also just the excitement about it and why people are excited about it. Like, I don't play League of Legends personally, but I was still super engaged at what was going on through the whole event. Like it was a blast, and I would love to go like to a Rocket League tournament or LAN event at some point, because that's like, could you imagine? Like,
well, you and I play Rocket League.
Right,
I mean,
we both play Rocket League, so that's the
both,
game.
You know,
right? That's the game that we both like are just spearheading, and that's what we've dedicated most of our time in. So like going to an event like that would be insane. But anyways, all that to say.
I mean, the idea here is we have traditional sports. You got football, you got basketball, you got baseball, you got soccer. I'll do the list. I mean, we can go cricket, volleyball, hockey. You just keep going. And all of these have, fans in jerseys, sold out stadiums. There's, and we're going to be, I might be shooting myself in the foot, and we'll have our guest will maybe, correct me on this, but we had like a heyday of, this, with maybe Counter-Strike, League, Dota, these huge esports where entire venues, like especially in the East, right, especially in Asia, they had entire huge stadiums, viewership of 1 million, 1.5 million for like League of Legends Worlds, right, like World Championships, crazy levels of engagement, and it does rival the exact same kind of atmosphere and experience that you get when you go to these more traditional avenues. It's just new, it's fresh, it's video games. We still have a stigma, right? There's still this idea that, yeah, great, you're good enough to play a video game, but is your homework done? Like, and we still have that kind of analysis that's applied to it in that way. But I mean, hey, enough about me alluding to some other like entity. This just, I think I'm just going to refer to him as our guest, and he'll just be like a phantom in the background of the episode the whole time, just like saying like, you're wrong, that was a stupid thing to say. We're going to bring on Ben Pfefferman, who is the COO of Gamer Saloon, the head of esports for Dot City Gaming, has been in the esports atmosphere for a hot minute. Welcome onto the show. We are glad to have you.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Did I shoot myself in the foot with anything I said about esports, or are we okay?
No, I was holding it all in. It's really funny. Yeah, great takes. Those were great takes.
Okay, good.
We're on the right track.
Okay, that's good. That's a good start. We can keep the momentum going forward. So, I mean, as far as like what I would like to start with is kind of like, can you give us a little bit of your experience in esports? Because you have founded teams, you have been a CEO, COO, like you're involved in the gamer and the esports sphere. How long have you been involved in that, and what does that look like as far as your day-to-day, or just your involvement in the atmosphere of esports?
Yeah, sure. Kind of unofficially got involved with esports back in 2015, shared an office with the guys who founded Enthusiast Gaming, EGLX, and just sort of saw how they were sort of building up their company, and as the industry really started to mature, 2019 started a company called Amuka Esports, raised a bit of cash. The idea was to create an esports hub where it would be centered with gaming venues and then ancillary businesses like teams, leagues, merchandise, content, all sort of centered around a physical location. So had built 3 locations in Toronto, Windsor, and Ottawa. Also launched a competitive team called Parabella. Yeah, we can stop, and I don't know if you want to.
No, keep
how
going.
No, you go?
Riff it, dude. Okay. I'll cut you off so hard if I need you to. I'll just. So please keep going.
Does that.
All right, we're almost done with my resume. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So, I started a team called Parabellum Esports with Chris Lama, and they have a team in the Rainbow Six North American League, called Pro League, as well as it had a Rocket League team and a couple other fielded rosters, a couple teams, and eventually that was sold off to a company called React. And then now I'm the COO of Gamer Saloon. It's a platform where gamers can go online and play games against their friends, people they know, for cash. So whether you want to play, if you guys wanted to play Rocket League against each other for $5, you could go on the site, place your bet, play your match, and it pays out the winner. And the focus with Gamer Saloon is primarily sports games. So we do a lot of work with Madden, FIFA, 2K, NHL, PGA, you name it. And then 2 more things, almost done. Then Dot City. So this is it's a competitive and content team, also centered around sports. So we do a lot of streams with FIFA pros and, NBA 2K and NHL pros, all sorts of different contents around those games. And then my side hustle, moonlighting, I am an aspiring YouTuber, Boca Ben. I have my own YouTube channel and create content around just kind of living in Florida, like living the good life, sunshine, beaches, boats, family, all that good stuff wrapped up into short size videos.
Sunshine, beaches, boats, family. That's like carved
Golf,
into a board that you put like on your kitchen wall, right? It's just like, and it's in like cursive, and it has like a little outline of something in the bottom right corner that's just like there. You could sell that at Cost Plus, man. That'd be a world market bestseller right there. Sunshine, beaches, boats, and family. It's in the Beyond section, yeah, because I don't know if that's bed or bath. Maybe bath because of water, because of the beaches and the boats. Okay, so what you're saying is you have a little bit of information about esports is what I gathered from all of that. Something that is popping up in my head, I like my gamerness and my experience is not around the sports games. It's not around NHL, NBA, 2K, Madden, FIFA. These games, I'm more into the more FPS or League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Rocket League, StarCraft 2 when it had its prime. That was my number one gig. So we'll say RTS. What is the space like before we get into like some different things about content creation and about getting more into that realm? What are these warring? Are these like combating forces? The sports video games as esports and stuff, and then the FPS, RTS, MOBA crowd. Like, how do they compare? How do they is there a lot going on with the sports games? I'm unaware of the difference between the two because I'm so involved in the other one.
Yeah, sure. So I think the sports games. So firstly, a big difference is they're all console based. FIFA, might be the exception, where you can play on PC. But again, so if you are a PC gamer, you're probably not playing sports games, at least on your PC. What's good about the sports titles is there is a new game every year. And that goes along with the annual ritual of trash talking the game and how much it's garbage every year, like everyone loves to do. So,
every time. I even watch those. I don't even play the games, and I watch those videos. I just what's wrong with the new Madden? And everybody's exactly. And there's it's just literally a montage of all the glitches and bugs and players with their mouths where their eyes should be and just random stuff. I don't know, just random stuff.
And isn't there a Madden curse as well? If you're featured on the cover of Madden, you're gonna be cursed that year or something. Isn't that?
Yes, that is true. I also think it's with other games. I think there was the NBA 2K curse with a lot of players.
Yeah.
But I mean, Mahomes has won a couple Super Bowls, so
didn't affect him,
right? Yeah. There's exceptions to the rule, we'll say. I grew up. I'm from Boise, Idaho, and I thought it was really cool that way back we go back to what's the college game called? The college football? Is it just NCAA football? Whatever.
Yeah, well, they stopped making it.
Correct. That's probably why I forgot.
And actually, they're bringing it back apparently for 2024.
Whoa. Okay. Well, how do you do? So the reason I bring that up is because Zabransky, the quarterback for BSU, when they won the Fiesta Bowl on the Statue of Liberty play and the handoff, that he got onto the cover and subsequently was cursed immediately. But it was really cool to be in Boise and be like, we exist. Everybody sees us. Look at us. We did it. We're on the cover. So I think that the beginning of your answer kind of said I haven't been into console gaming for a long time. So it makes sense that it's out of my sphere. I'm not getting inundated with advertisements or hype about these next games of NBA 2K or Madden or anything like that because I've been a PC gamer. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, now there is a lot of crossover with, I would say, more on the FPS side versus the MOBA or RTS. A lot of, if you look at athletes, NBA or NFL players, yes, they love to play the sports games, but they're also playing Warzone and, Fortnite. So I think there is a lot of crossover on the shooter side. So, yeah. And the other big difference is they're primarily 1v1 games. there are 6v6 formats for NHL, or you could play NBA as 5s, 3s, or 2s. But generally speaking, sports games are played 1v1, and that's, I guess, maybe a bigger difference than other games that are team-based.
That's actually a really good point. And team-based, I think team-based play right now in esports is that's kind of the popular thing, at least when you look at like League of Legends or something. You're thinking of the 5 people, who's the jungler, who's mid, who's doing all these different things. And I think RTSs are traditionally 1v1, and those have kind of not many RTS in the esports range right now. We're hoping that me personally is my favorite genre. I'm kind of hoping that maybe Frost Giant or any of these other studios can release a good RTS so we can get that back. But I think you're right. Yeah, that 1v1 is kind of an interesting aspect. What about, okay, so let's pivot, because I'm really curious about this. With your like esports and content, you mentioned this when you were talking about organizations and building them up. How much are you considering content versus how much are you considering competition? Like when you are either picking up players, when you are developing the organization from the ground, are you looking at content and the players who will make that content equally, or how does that work as far as building content in an esports organization?
Yeah, WoW has the tide completely changed with this question. If you were to ask that question 2-3 years ago, it was win at all costs. Like the TSM model, Team Liquid. It was if you win, it brings fans. Like same with sports. If you're putting up the W's, the fans will come into the stands and they'll support the team and buy the merch. And it was absolutely paying ridiculous salaries to get. These companies are largely venture backed. They're paying ridiculous salaries to get the best possible talent in order to win. And now that business model is very frayed and is really under pressure. It's been a huge move to content. And even groups like Misfits have said, like, listen, we're all in on content, and across the board, I think that is going to be the trend.
So this is, and so you might have a little bit more of like a finger on the pulse of this, but this is something where content creators are picked up by teams, not to win, not to compete, to create content. Hi, I am a streamer. I've been sponsored before by Prestige Esports, and it was literally like, do everything you're doing, but wear our tag. Like, the idea here is exposure. We are trying to say we have a certain amount of content creators that are a part of what we're doing. Is that the shift that you're talking about? We just have people who are like, yo, we want to sponsor you just with our name as an organization so that people see our name associated with you.
Yeah. And I think you have to put air quotes on the term team. Like, it's a brand now. A lot of these teams are brands now, and they're not really in as many esports. They're not fielding, competitors in all these different games. They're largely focused on content. And I think the challenge with the competitive side is, and if you give that traditional sports, analogy, a sports team is going to make money on their ticket sales, which esports doesn't have, and you're going to get a big chunk of the media rights deals, which also esports doesn't have. Essentially, you watch all your favorite esports events, it is completely free on Twitch or YouTube, and that's just an unsustainable model. And so that's why a lot of people have said, hey, writing's on the wall, these leagues don't make sense. But what does make sense is content creators get eyeballs, and eyeballs can be monetized through sponsorships. And that's the route that they're going.
That's interesting. So when it comes to, I guess when you have big esports events, it is kind of like a conglomeration of a bunch of different orgs coming together and having a competition, as opposed to regular, we use air quotes for regular, of course, but for every other sport, the point of like going to an arena is like there's 2 teams that go to an arena and you sell out for that one game. It's not even really an event, it's just a game. Whereas a esports event is like you dedicate a whole weekend essentially to this big thing happening with a bunch of teams coming in. So you get massive ticket sales from that, but it's not necessarily going to those teams directly, or at least not in a large quantity, because it has to divvy out between so many different orgs. Is that something that I don't know if you see like a change in this happening, or if there's something that is going to come from the sphere of being at arenas, or wherever the event may be. Like, you have like smaller local events for Smash, and like they can just be housed in smaller places. But is there still something that could be improved in that space? Because Twitch ad revenue is just a joke.
Yeah, I think the unpopular solution is that if you want to watch a premium esports league, and let's call that League of Legends, like the LCS or Call of Duty or Overwatch, you have to pay. And the NFL model doesn't work if there's no, everything's free. And I think that is the uncomfortable thing, that you're going to have to pay for the League of Legends season pass, and that'll give you access to the broadcast. And that type of that additional revenue will help sort of the team and the organization be profitable and put a good product out there. Otherwise, they just can't rely on, sort of sharing whatever league revenue there is, or the few sponsors that are left in esports.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's crazy that it seems like there's this bottleneck that's hitting esports, that's keeping it from increasing to the next level. Because I know Bex, you just brought it up a little bit ago, where the viewership for something like League of Legends is way up there for Worlds, especially. There was an article way back, like several years ago. I can't remember what year it was. It might have been like 2016, I think. It might have been a couple of years after that. But the viewership for the League of Legends World Championships at that time was over 360 million. And at the same time, the viewership for the Super Bowl that year was 110 million. So League of Legends World Championships gets more than 3 times the viewership. And you can't, it's interesting because, like, you say, well, like, the Super Bowl is a US based thing, but there's still people around the world watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
sure.
So
for sure.
The fact that League of Legends has 3 times the viewership of the Super Bowl is like, maybe this is something that should get more noticed, and this is something that should be, I don't want to just say more monetized, because that's not like a great way to think of it. But it needs to have more notoriety, because people care about it, and a lot more than because again, it's a stigma. It's an interesting spot. Right.
And and for sure, everyone talks about that analogy that, League of Legends Worlds gets more viewers than the Super Bowl. The challenge for North American esports organizations is that viewership is largely outside of the US. It's really about China and Korea, and even a couple, it's pretty big in Europe, but like that game and the viewership numbers are not that strong in the United States. And that's where the brands have a hard time putting in big dollars if they can't see that strong US audience growth.
To kind of like riff off of this idea, I think right now esports is in a place, and then I have another topic that I'm really interested to hear what Ben's opinion is and hear some thoughts on. But I think we're at a place where we have the idea of what esports as a consumed media can be. We think of the 1 million like concurrent viewers for a live event. We think of the leagues. We go all the way back to MLG, when MLG's got Halo and Counter-Strike, and Counter-Strike 1.6. They had they tried to actually establish like a televised pro league that was way before its time, so it failed. And like we know what we want out of it. But you can only, like, people also like playing video games, and in a lot of instances more than watching people play video games. And so I think right now, like, if we look at like Rocket League, like the amount of people that watch like the Rocket League majors, like we have the winter and spring majors, right now in that space, you get 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, but the game has an exponentially larger amount of players than the amount of people who watch. So, like, how do you get those people to actually like watch all these things to get them that access? I think esports right now is like, it tries to push that, but at some point you kind of see, like, I don't want to say the writing on the wall, like esports is not consumable, but rather that perhaps we just have to be honest about what is possible. And so a lot of times the reach for esports is further than what can actually be met in today's age. What are your thoughts on that? Am I off base? Like, I don't know.
There's definitely a lot to unpack. I think, there are 2 billion people that play basketball, but there's less people that are watching the NBA. So I think the amount of people that are playing the game could be much higher. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the pro league or whatever we're watching is a bad product. But to your point, yeah, I think the challenge with, if we want to use Rocket League as an example is, can they, and when I mean they, I mean, whether it's the tournament organizers, the broadcasters, Psyonix, whoever, can they put together a broadcast that if you've never watched Rocket League or you've never played the game, that you could still find it interesting? And that's the problem. And Rocket League has a leg up on, if we were going to sit down with our parents and watch like an LCS game, you're dead in the water. Like there's just
no way, right?
Not even
no
close.
way.
Not gonna happen.
And even any sport like that you don't follow, you could pick it up on the broadcast, right? If we sat down and watched a game of darts, yeah, we could like pretty much follow what's going on, right? You either hit the bullseye, you don't. There's a score. Like we could get enough, even if we've never seen a game of darts. And sports, there's such a huge learning curve that if you don't play the games, you'll never be able to watch the broadcast or appreciate it, and that is just gonna stifle the growth of the game.
I feel like I do have another topic, but this is such a good topic. Okay, so if we're like, if somebody, let's look at sports games, because that's also like something that, you are you know very well and that you're an expert in. Like if somebody wants to watch somebody 1v1 in FIFA or watch an actual soccer game, it seems like that's kind of a no-brainer. People are going to want to watch actual soccer over a FIFA match, or people are going to watch the NBA over NBA 2K. Like those things aren't going to really have competition, especially and this is speaking for people who are like what you're saying, like somebody who doesn't watch sports. Would they rather, if somebody comes in fresh and is given two options, watch a video game, sports, or the actual sport, they're probably going to choose the actual sport because it's more understandable, it's more common, it's something that they can engage with, it's something they can see versus knowing that they push the X button at the right time. That's not going to be in their nomenclature, right?
I'm going to give my yes, but yes.
I love it. I love the yes buts.
The traditional broadcast is boring. Like the Twitch streamers do it right. They engage with their chat. It's fun. It's exciting. And to the point that, I don't know if you heard, Courage, from 100 Thieves, like he is doing I don't know what the media term is, like a simultaneous cast of a baseball game. Right, like they're getting streamers to now like cast, do alternative casts for sports games because they're just more exciting, more entertaining. And I think the traditional sports broadcasts do suck. And if you follow, okay, and the second point to this is when you follow a streamer, Tim the Tapman, Dr. Disrespect, whoever it is, like you're watching them every day. Like you have such a emotional connection to the streamer because they're sharing their personal life with you. You're in their living room every single day. So yeah, when they do anything, you're just going to be more interested than whoever is like, the NFL broadcaster on the network you're watching.
That's like really good. That's like blowing my mind a little bit because like I'm a commentator. I'm a commentator. I'm a caster. Like I've cast Rocket League. I've cast StarCraft. I've cast Counter-Strike. Like that's what I love doing. And when I'm listening to the people who are commentating the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, the MLB, I'm just like, you guys are talking about like, what chicken you had last night and this stuff. And man, I just want to be in there like, let's hype this up. Like, did you guys see what happened? Did you see that pitch? Did you see that shot? Like, why are we not talking about this? But that's a personal thing, and now here we are. I don't know.
I think we are seeing kind of this taper off of real sport broadcasts kind of sink down a little bit because the interest is just starting to not be there as much anymore. Like I think you go back to the 80s and 90s, like it was probably the most prevalent in that era. And the more that the digital age comes into fruition, we are seeing a shift in these things. So like esports, I think the biggest thing that we're seeing is that because it hasn't aged anywhere near as much as real sports have been around. Because you got to think like regular sports have been televised for over 100 years. Like
It's wild.
When we think about it in that context, like the television of real sports has been around for a century. Esports is not. Like esports is very, very much comparatively extremely in its infancy. So like is there still a lot that esports has to do to be able to like stand on its own 2 feet? Like absolutely, I would say. But we are seeing a very much a trend in a different direction. And when people's interests shift, like I used to be all about watching hockey. I would watch football even and really enjoy it. And now I have a hard time watching it most of the time. Like it doesn't keep my interest. So I think we are.
Well, and this is kind of what Ben is talking about too, about like how teams are now considered brands, and brands are looking for content. So they're shifting where they aren't trying to compete with the traditional mindset of traditional consumption of sports. They're saying, okay, people like shorts on YouTube. They like TikTok. They like Instagram. They like these ways in which they can quickly consume a highlight content moment and then move on with their lives. Often to the next highlight moment, right? But it does seem that what the suggestion overall here is that content consumption is actually the way that things get attention in the online sphere, whether that's an esports team brand, or whether that's a player, whether that's a YouTube channel, whatever it is. It kind of seems just to move in that direction. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're taking a brief break. Bax here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about StreamSix and about what StreamSix represents. Okay, the StreamSix Academy Podcast is focusing on the real day-to-day efforts of content creators and streamers that are in the trenches. We're trying to get into the stuff that is challenging streamers, that is challenging content creators, the obstacles that you are facing, and you are a part of the conversation. So if you have ways that you have been growing your community, if you have interesting tidbits about different things that you have experienced, or if you just want feedback, or if you just want to ask questions about what's happening in these episodes, please feel free to do so, okay? And if you don't know about StreamSix is an indie developer platform. It looks at ways to deepen the connection between the streamer and the viewer through interactive experiences or social interactive experiences, otherwise known as sixes, okay? They're awesome games, absolutely phenomenal games, and I know that you might think I'm biased, but they really genuinely help you grow your community and get to know your community better. I cannot recommend them enough. Keep your eyes peeled for what's coming next from StreamSix. Now back to the podcast. Come on, off with you. Let's go.
Let's look at it like this, for example. Okay, let's say, I'm here in Miami. The Heat are hopefully going to be one of the few team U8 seeds knock off a first seed tonight. So
Jimmy Butler, are you kidding me? That guy. Anyway,
you know exactly where I'm going. If I'm a Jimmy Butler fan, which I am. So what's my interaction and connection with him? It's like 9:30 tonight. I'm going to turn on the TV and I'm going to watch it, watch the game, and that's it. And then I'll probably catch some highlights. But that's all the interaction I'm going to have with Jimmy Butler. And yes, I can follow him on Instagram and he's got this expensive coffee company, blah, blah, blah. But it kind of sort of starts and ends with the actual competition. If I were to follow someone like, Tim the Tap Man, then I get Tim the Tap Man every day for hours and I get to know him better. Like I don't really know who Jimmy Butler is by watching the game. But with a content creator, you just develop this intimate personal relationship. And I think that's why you just care so much more. And that's why, that's just the bigger difference between, I think, watching a content creator and watching, sort of a competitive event.
Cool. That's actually kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head, because we talk about the fact that people are starting to care less and less about, I think, the actual accolades and achievements that, regardless of whether it's regular sports or esports, they're starting to care less and less about the actual achievements that these people are getting, like achieving championships and beating the other teams and stuff. Like it's a lot more about the actual brand, because people are craving connection more than achievements. So we see this playing out day by day again, like you say, on Twitch, with people live streaming, with people getting more interactive with their chat, regardless of what they're doing, like, because it is a brand. It is, like like community is a brand in a sense. Maybe going a little bit too far, but there is an aspect of branding your community, and that's what people are craving nowadays. People want to be able to communicate and be together in a way they haven't been able to before, because we've been isolated for so long. So we've really seen a dramatic shift in the past few years in this space. But now that these connections are being made online and a lot more accessible, I think the culture is really shifting in that direction. So
yeah, let's illustrate that with subbing. Okay, subscribing, because I think that also, sort of makes this distinction even more clear. I'm at a Heat game, or like I'm at home watching the game. Butler drops 56 points. I'm not going to be like, here's $5, Jimmy, great game, But you would, and people do all the time. If it's like someone is streaming and they have a great stream and you want to support, even though they're multi-million, Tim the Tap Man, probably makes not as much as Jimmy Butler, but he's definitely making millions. And it'd be totally normal for me to like drop $5 for a sub, thanks for a great stream. So that's just sort of the different dynamic there.
Yeah.
I think right now I can. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say another quick example. In the, like, maybe not quite as high of a space as somebody like Tim the Tap Man or Dr. Disrespect or whatever, but you look at speed running as an example, and that's very much one of those accolade type things. But when people are actually running the games and you're in their community and watching them, you are significantly more invested in what they're trying to achieve and trying to do. And I know speedrunning is not the topic that we're talking about in this instance, but the biggest example I have is when Simply that was his name, Simply achieved the world record for Super Mario 64 for his first time ever, and his parents came in and were so proud of him and giving him a hug, and he was crying. That was, oh my goodness, that was insane. That was one of the
clip was cool.
Oh my goodness, it was unbelievable. And I think that's the type of connection that we get to see in this space that we don't get to see, or we haven't seen in traditional broadcast.
Yeah, this is. I will say, I want to say that there's probably a lot of people who, after that last game performance, would be willing to subscribe for $5 to Jimmy Butler. But we'll see. We'll see what he does tonight, and see if he can, keep that train running. Right now, man, he's in clutch mode. So this would be insane if they pull that off tonight. I want to pivot here. Let's look at, like, you were talking about Tim the Tap Man. You're talking about Dr. Disrespect. You're also talking about the connection of people subbing or supporting people for putting on a good stream. So right now, to viewer X, who has absolutely nothing to do with content creation or streaming, but they have the aspiration of seeing Tim the Tap Man, Dr. Disrespect, other maybe smaller streamers who they just enjoy going and hanging out with, whoever that might be, Dex Bonus or otherwise. What would you tell them for getting into this space, for somehow saying, hi, I exist, I'm here, I'm going to raise my hand up? What can I do? What can I do to get on that level or get started on the path to get there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the first thing is you got to start streaming. I mean, I think you just got to.
Amen.
What's the number one rule with like starting a YouTube channel is like create the YouTube channel. So a lot of people are afraid to stream to nobody or to talk to nobody. And let me tell you, and this is not like I'm so like righteous type of statement, but I think a lot of people do this. If I'm on Twitch sometimes, I like to scroll to the very bottom of the viewer list. And when I see someone who has their face cam on, because I'm never going to sub to someone who doesn't have their face cam, I love just giving someone who has no viewers a sub, sometimes their first sub, because that $5 just makes someone's day. And you have no other opportunity in life to really give a random stranger $5 to make their day. And that's what's one of the amazing things about Twitch or YouTube or whatever, is that you can connect with people, you can show kindness, you can support them in ways that are so meaningful to them and are so easy for you.
So let's dive a little deeper. So the person who is streaming to zero, do you have any thoughts for them? What do you do to the person who is grinding it out, whether, for better or worse? They're 8 hours a day and they've got 0, 1, maybe 2 people. What would you suggest for them to grow, to improve? What are they doing wrong? What are they doing right? Where would you go with that?
Yeah, so I think one is you got to establish, your goals. Why are you streaming? Do you want this to be a career? Do you want this to be a side hustle? Are you doing it for experience? Even within that, the sort of Twitch ecosystem, are you trying to be a Twitch affiliate? Do you want to grind to be a Twitch partner? These are the different levels. So one is you got to know what you're doing. That's first and foremost. And the second part is, what's your audience? Like, are you just going to be like another Warzone streamer and, they're a dime a dozen? Or are you going to do something different? Are you going to, are you going to have a niche game? Do you want to be a variety streamer? Do you want to, whatever it is, you got to think of, it's a very crowded space. So you have to think about some angle or something that's different about you than the gazillion other streamers that are trying to make it.
What does this look like for as far as from esports? Like somebody who is, say, a professional in Fortnite, they come into a space which is one of the most popular stream spaces on the internet. But they're a professional. They have notoriety. They have name recognition. Is that something that's considered when it comes to esports orgs picking up players and then turning that into content, which is kind of, what we were just talking about as a method of, making money, but also of getting noticed, is saying, hi, we're an organization. Look at this player that's really good. Our name is on them and they stream every day. Is that something that you're thinking about? Like when it comes to esports, like just picking people up, chucking them into the saturated market, but the name notoriety is enough to bring them to the top? Or does that not matter, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. Like, if you're taking any team-based game, no, your social media following isn't important or as important, because the goal is to be competitive and to win. Then you're going to field the best roster to win. And if two players are even, yes, of course, the one with the better social following or the one that's, more entertaining is better, but you're definitely focused on the win. I think when you're a content org, then it's all about that. And who cares if you're good? Like, if you're going to get out there and stream 8 hours, have a good following and do some trick shots and tips and tricks and talk about the patch update, whatever it is that's going to engage the Fortnite community, then that's extremely attractive to any org.
Yeah. Okay. So what about, out of curiosity, like what about somebody who wants to be a professional gamer? What about like that avenue? That is somebody, I don't know, the aspiring high schooler, the somebody who's in college, somebody now, I don't know, like here I am and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the push for Rocket League Pro. I know I won't be able to keep up with all those fast twitch fingers of the, 14 and 15 year olds, but I can try. What would you say to those people who are getting started? Is content a part of how they should start versus just practicing and getting good at the game? I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it for sure is, in general, though, okay, here's the thing with people that, have competitive aspirations. Number one, and I don't mean to sound like a dick, but like just biologically, once you are already into your early or mid 20s, your just response time significantly slow down and you're just likely not going to be competitive compared to kids that are 18, 17, 16 years old. So you just have to be real that your window of success or to be scouted or get noticed or have success is very early in your career. So you should be thinking about this in high school. And if it hasn't happened by university time, probably not going to happen. And that's okay because, with traditional sports athletes, your main earning power is while you play pro. And once you're done playing in the NFL, then you're doing car dealership commercials and whatever. Like your earning potential is significantly limited. Esports, I would actually argue it's the opposite. In many ways, when you retire as a pro player and be 100% focused on as a content creator, you're probably going to make more money and you're going to have a longer career. So that's the downside is the competitive window is short, but the content window is very lucrative and very long.
I think a very easy, low-hanging fruit example is XQC. Dude is like a professional tank in Overwatch, and known for playing Winston and Ryan, and then he goes off and becomes the most watched streamer in history. Like it's just like, okay, sure, well, that's a way to do it.
I bet people don't even know that he played competitive.
They
Overwatch.
Probably don't. You're
probably
so
not
right,
at this point,
dude.
yeah.
There's probably so many people who have no idea of that background because he just soaked him in. That's a good point.
So I guess is like, let's say you are in that space, like, and you do want to get into gaming in some sort of aspect and make it lucrative. But you are getting to that late teen stage where you're starting to get a little bit too late to become pro in whatever esport you're trying to pursue. What would be the steps that you would take to still get good at the game, still provide value to people, and still create content in that space, being known as somebody who's really good at the game, like maybe not pro, but still can be someone that people look up to and admire, and and become a big successsul content creator, whether that's streaming, whether that's making YouTube videos, whatever space that may be in. What are those steps for that person to take, and how do you get from point A to point B and then C? Like, because point B would being like pro, C being content creator. Like, what are those steps?
Can I try to rephrase the question just out of my own curiosity? Tim, are you trying to say, like, does somebody need to be good to create content? Like, good at a game? Is that a way in which you're okay?
Not necessarily, like, because you could be like awful at a game and just make really stupid content on it. Like, that's absolutely an avenue that you could take. But this is for somebody that has a game they're very passionate about. Like, let's take Rocket League as an example for me. I'm not going to become a pro player ever. I'm 30. It's not going to happen. But if I was to go into Rocket League and say, at least hit this goal, like, I'll become SSL. I'll become the top rank in Rocket League, and I can make content on there. Like, what's the point of hitting that ranking and making the content that's evergreen, that's living its life out there? Is there a difference between the two? Like, do you make content to get with the story to get to that place, or is there a threshold that you have to meet to say, I'm good enough at this game to be recognized as someone who can give a professional opinion, per se? Like, hopefully this is making some sort of sense.
Yeah. And you're saying, do you need to hit a certain level or proficiency in the game to have street credit to be a creator?
Yeah. Assuming it's about the game specifically. Yes.
Right. No, in my opinion, I think you get, you create authenticity, by just being a leader in your community. So if you want to be a Rocket League streamer or creator, then I'd like to see someone who is maybe involved with collegiate esports, or maybe is doing some coaching, or works as an analyst, or does some broadcasts, or does some observing. Or I think the more involved you are, the more you drive thought leadership within your own community. I think the more successful you're going to be, and people are going to listen to your opinion about the game and about the community.
That's good. Let's push on that. What about some, like, I guess content will figure itself out, but should somebody even be considering their skill level if they want to make content, or just dive in? If I want to make a tier list of the best players in Rocket League and I have no idea, is that still content, even if not very good content? Like, do you need to be good at something to really be able to make content about it? Or could you start making the content and that is a way of understanding it? I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. Right. Like, versus playing the game, and getting good at the game. What about making content about the game? And there's like two different avenues to get good at what you do.
Right. Good point. So I think when it comes to being good at the game, no, you could be a beginner Rocket League player and stream. And there's some value in the content of you sort of learning the game and growing and getting better. And people are going to watch you as you progress as a better Rocket League player. But if you go out and say, I'm going to give my two cents on, the European region's Rocket League scene, and you don't know anything about it, well, I think that's a detriment. I think people will see through it as fake and, and not watch that content because you're sort of pretending to be an authority on something that you're not. So you have to be honest and genuine with how you're creating your content, the story you're telling, and it's okay to tell that beginner story. Hey, I'm new to the scene, I'm starting up, and I'm going to play this game and get good. But don't pretend to be a Rocket League expert and give a tier list of all these teams if you don't know anything about it.
Which is also like, in a way, that could also be content. Like, there's a part of me that wants to go take a sport I know nothing about and just rank them and be like, do you see that mascot? That is a winner. That mascot right there. There's no way they lose.
So I'll give you something funny. There is a dog at the top of the stairs.
Okay.
And in each basket at the bottom of the stairs are the team names, and the dog hits the ball, and they make predictions on who's going to win an NHL series based on which basket the dog is knocking the ball into. Okay, so that's great content. That's funny to watch. The dog obviously knows nothing about hockey, but it's done in a way that's funny, and you can get away with it. If you wanted to show that everything is random and bet on some Rocket League games, just to see like what would happen blindly, yeah, that's also funny. I think as long as you're just honest and you're transparent with the angle, what you're taking, that people are going to appreciate it. I think maybe just that one example of, like, you just don't want to pretend to be an authority and not be an authority. That's all.
I'm just sitting here like, thinking how hilarious it would be afterwards to have like some person come on and like, okay, we're going to analyze the dog's decision. Now you'll see when they hit the ball over to the left side, they're favoring the Red Wings. Now you'll notice the fifth bounce down on that fourth step. Now that was a weird bounce, but the dog knew what was going on. We now go to an interview with the dog, the expert on this. Dog, what do you think? And it's just like, it's content, but I guess the idea is if you aren't self-aware that what you're doing doesn't actually have like professional analytic value, it's just humor, it's kind of knowing your lane, I guess, is kind of what you're saying, right? Just kind of know what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And even right now, like on LinkedIn, there's just this like group of people that post about esports and talk about esports, and they're just like haven't really done anything or amounted to anything. And it became like so embarrassing. Like I kind of stopped posting on LinkedIn because like I don't want to ever be lumped into this category of just these people that are just, I don't know. I have a hard time sort of explaining how I feel about that, but
right.
It's just inauthentic thought leadership, and I just try to distance myself whenever I see it.
Okay, can I follow up? Like we've talked about this in some other episodes. Authenticity, how important or how effective? Because it sounds like what you're circling around is that one of the most important things, one of the single most, if not the single most important thing that anybody who is a content creator or a professional in esports or anything related to content online, authenticity is something that is completely necessary.
100%. It's number one. I can't think of anything higher.
So what does authenticity mean for some? Like how would you describe authenticity for somebody who's like, okay, I need to be authentic. What do I do?
Yeah. Again, not to try to use like cliches, but it's kind of like that. Be yourself. It's, present yourself as who you are, and don't try to be someone else, or don't try to take credit for things you haven't done, or I don't know. Like, I think if you're just not real, then people just see through it so quickly, and you just have to be, I think the most successful creators can be vulnerable to their community and can be honest and talk about things and share when things are going wrong or share when things are going right. Like that's what people want. They're not looking for sort of surface figures, like Hollywood Botox, like that fake stuff is just not what people want, right?
That catch was like literally esports level catch. That was so
real,
good.
Yes,
that was totally. Really. You lied. You said that your reaction time gets lower. Okay, but that was a fast reaction time. That was well done.
Yeah. No
anyway,
problem.
sorry.
I committed to it. So
it was good. It was well done.
So yeah, be authentic, be yourself, and that's what people want.
So an interesting theme I think we've mentioned a couple times throughout this episode is this idea of leadership, especially in a content creator space, whether you're really good at a game or you're just somebody who interacts with the community very well. How important is ownership in terms of owning an actual organization or owning a brand of some sort? A couple of examples of this we're seeing more and more in the esports space. I'll use Rocket League as an example, but you see it in a bunch of others like Smash and I don't know if League has any. I think there is some in League, but anyways, where content creators are now owning their own teams. Like we see Charlie White, like Moist Critical, he has the Moist Esports league now, and I think he's partnered with Ludwig.
With Ludwig, yeah, exactly.
Ludwig.
And then there's and then there's there's Sunless Khan who owns Rule 1. Like, he has his own team now too. So how important is that space, and is that going to be something that's going to continue to evolve in brands, in content, in communities, and where do you see that going?
I think there's two ways to kind of look at it. One is it's a great way for brands to retain talent very long term. Because, when you think about even competitive esports, you're signing 3-month, 6-month, 1-year contracts. There's no 10-year deals in esports, and there probably never will be. So when 100 Thieves gives Courage and Valkyrie and others, equity, it shows that, they want them to be a part of the long-term vision of the org. So I think that's incredibly important. And then we're also kind of seeing, sports athletes and influencers are also taking major ownership stakes, because especially up until now, players had no opportunity to own the teams in the 4 major professional sports. And so when it came to esports, now everyone from A-Rod and Shaq and Steph Curry and Kevin Garnett, and I mean, there's more people that don't own esports teams or have equity in esports teams than do. And so I think this new generation of athletes are huge entrepreneurs, and they're definitely heavily investing or owning their own esports team.
If you don't mind, speak to some of the writing on the wall talk. Like, do you think the writing's on the wall for esports? Do you think that we are going to see like a full shift to just like, okay, we are now just content creation brands, and esports as like a live monetized opportunity is out? Or do you think that there's a lot of hope in different avenues? Where do you stand? What's your perspective on all this?
Yeah, so I like the model where a lot of sports teams are opening up their own gaming divisions that are not just playing the game that they're in, but they're expanding. I mean, every day, I just saw it yesterday, the Cleveland Guardians now have Guardian Gaming, or whatever it's called. You name the city, the Washington Capitals have, and the New York Islanders are very strong in gaming. So sports orgs are going to move in that direction, because I think that it gives them the ability to get a younger fan base, gives them the ability to sort of create events and activations on the scope of the season. And so I think every single team is going to have team. Every single sport team is going to have an esports team. That's the good part. The weird and like uncomfortable part is, when Stan Kroenke, is pulling out of the LA Gorillas Overwatch team, whatever it is. When you see sports billionaires start to pull out, then, that is concerning, and you wonder what's going on there. But I think in general, with him in that particular instance, it was a separate asset. It wasn't really connected to what does Kroenke own, the Rams and
he owns Arsenal, doesn't he? Or did he?
Bunch of teams, yeah.
Arsenal FC, yeah.
So I think they'll be connected. Like, Andy Miller, who owns the Sacramento Kings, also owns NRG. Well, maybe it makes more sense for Andy Miller and the Sacramento Kings to have Kings Gaming, and sort of build the esports through the sports brand, versus, again, maybe not the best example, because he was ahead of the curve with NRG, modern Overwatch team. And I think that's just the point in general, is that I don't think they'll necessarily have their own standalone brands, and they'll want to make esports both competitive content and extension of their traditional sports properties.
So you are okay. So the idea here is if the future that you are laying out looks like similar to the traditional sport, rosters, standings, or just the names, all the different names of all these teams, and then we just have like, okay, the Sacramento Kings also have Kings Gaming, and then that can just be a unified brand. So they're just going to unify these ideas of the digital brands and the traditional brands and say, here we go. Like, this is just the conglomerate of competitors that we have under the Kings brand. They'll have to somehow get the LA Kings to, I mean, they're close. LA, Sacramento. I mean, it's both California, but maybe they can get all the Kings in there.
But LA already has Kings Gaming, so Sacramento doesn't have to think.
Okay.
I think
SAC
basketball
Gaming. No, that doesn't. Don't do SAC Gaming. That's brutal.
Yeah. the NBA already has a foot in that door because almost all of the teams have a franchise in the NBA 2K League. So they've already made Cavs Gaming and, you know what I mean? And they've already created game brands. So it's really not that difficult. I think the other ones are just, sort of coming on board. And
Right.
yeah, I think, the theme is, I think the sports are going to be put back into esports. I think they're going to realize that the sports model was done right. And they're going to build esports through and around the traditional sports.
That's cool. Okay. Wow. Well, we are at that time. We are at that time. It's kind of crazy to think that it flew by, but it did. It's gone. Do you have any kind of final thoughts on the topic of content creation, esports, bagels, maybe your favorite spaghetti topping that you would like to let everybody know about?
Yeah, I just in general, don't let all the headlines about esports layoffs and teams closing affect how you see yourself as a creator, because that's a completely different business. And esports as a competitive business model is under fire, but content creation is really strong. Brands are investing more and more into creators, into micro influencers, and it's a very good, viable business. And there's nothing better than investing in yourself. And whether or not you stick with it long term, or this is just going to be a side hustle, I think the skills that you're building, the time that you're investing up in your brand is valuable. And so I hope that the message here, and I hope you feel empowered, that now is absolutely the time to go out and get it. And perhaps there's never been a better time to do it.
Tim, what about you, dude?
I mean, I don't know if I can offer a better summary than that.
That was really good.
Yeah. I mean, I guess from me, it's just like we're in a day and age where you can try something new and see if it works, and you have nothing to worry about in terms of whether or not you're going to succeed or not, because at least you tried something new. And we're also in a space today where we have so much more access to community than ever. It's just a matter of how you go pursue it. But yeah, I can't wait to see where we're going to go in the years ahead, especially with how things are going in the esports realm, in how we approach broadcasting esports. Like there's so much potential and so much where we can go.
It's so true. I mean, and that's great. I mean, yeah, like go get it. I mean, that's something that we, here on this podcast and every episode, that has been the overall theme of the entire thing is go get it. I feel like, we'll compete with Nike and they're just do it. We'll be go get it. And we'll just make our own shirts and we'll flip the swoosh upside down, maybe, which they probably already have copyright anyway. But yeah, that's the idea. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Ben. This is Ben Feverman, once again, CEO of Gamer Saloon and the head of esports for Dot City Gaming. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. This has been so informative. I hope the viewers have also enjoyed it. I would like to let everybody know once again, if you have questions, if you have feedback, if you have thoughts about this episode, please let us know on Twitch, on YouTube, on Discord. These are all avenues that you can get a hold of us. We want you to be a part of the conversation. If you would like more information about something we were talking about today, just let us know so that we know that for the future. My name is Sam Hall, otherwise known online as Baxcast. This has been episode 5 of the StreamSix Academy Podcast. Hope you have a wonderful day. Reach out to us, and we'll see you next time for episode 6 with more awesome content coming at you. Peace, peace, peace.